It's everybody's favorite time. I know you already know what it is. I mean, you can have a list of 10 things, but this is number one. It's time for another fresh, and when I say fresh, this is like as new as a podcast can get. It's Boomers with Beverages.
Sorry. Just sounds cool.
Yes, that's going to mean so much to people who can't see it.
That sounded like me doing my SAT going, I don't know what the answer is.
I can do that with my mouth, too. Sorry, go ahead.
Well,
wow.
At least we know we can do that. Yeah.
Now we know a couple of the ways Artie used to pick up chicks. That's pretty neat.
Oh, this is my favorite.
I bet that was real popular.
Yes, it was.
Sure.
Come on, babe. Hey, do that to me.
Did they actually see you do it, or just
No, they just heard it.
Yeah, they just heard it.
Artie carried a board with him, so he could go behind it.
That's why Artie's been lonely for many years.
Be a voice actor.
Hush up! I'm not lonely.
It was a little muffled, but anyway, it's good to have our usual listeners from across the globe, and I'm not kidding when we say that. We have people listening everywhere to the podcast.
And welcome to all the new folks who found us through YouTube.
Yeah,
there
bless
we go.
their hearts.
YouTube, BWB TV. Rock
That's
on.
us.
That's really blowing up.
It really is.
Yes, it's really blowing up.
Glad I could assist there.
It was very well done, Pete. Thank you so much. Jim Burrows
We've
here,
got several hundred views on many of our
Oh,
videos.
yeah. We put some up the other day within hours that had over 500 views.
Well, I'm thinking about tying us into the site Boomer Hub, but we have to have no clothes on if we do Boomer Hub. So
speaking of, I found my Brazzers porn thing.
Oh,
today.
beautiful! Did you now?
Yeah, it was a contest to get a free membership to Brazzers.
I thought maybe
the
they
number
sent
one
you
porn
something.
site in the world. It's number one with Muslims.
Hey, it's glad to have you with us, Brad.
Hello.
Yeah, that's good. So
I just thought I'd bring that up. I found it today and watched it. It was kind of nostalgic.
Was it?
What exactly
it was a promo I did for Brazzers.
I remember when you
did that. It was around Easter time.
I do.
And we had to redo it like 3 times because it started off to be an Easter thing. And they called me back and said, well, Muslims, they don't care for Easter, so we can't do that.
But they like their porn.
Yeah,
but they love their porn.
That's what I've heard, yeah. I remember you talking about that.
Yeah. So anyway, it's good to have you along. Thanks for sharing your Brazzers experience. That's phenomenal. Jim Burrows, Pete Molina, how are you, sir?
I'm doing absolutely fantastic.
Things are blowing up, aren't they, Pete?
They're blowing up, baby.
Dan Davis is here as well.
Howdy.
And Artie?
Hey, I'm sorry I've been wasting your time.
No. I'm always intrigued by what comes out of your
There will be a reckoning.
I'm just like your significant other. Can't wait to hear what you've got coming up next.
Well, I think she can wait.
Well, I
think she'd rather wait.
She is, yes.
We have a guest on the show for this particular edition of Boomers with Beverages. Brett Glaze is going to join us, and it's a friend of Pete. And Brett is involved with
an FOP,
the tequila biz. So I thought, since you three are winos, and I'm, watching you guys all drink all your beverages, that you guys would be able to pick his brain on a variety of things. And we're going to have Pete carry that conversation here in just a few minutes. But I want to say hey to Art Baker. Art's back. Good to see Art. Taylor Scott out there in the Netherlands who continues to do great work for us. Really appreciate that as well. And what am I drinking? I've got a Leinenkugel's Summer Shandy. So if you've not had it, especially when the weather gets warmer, right now as we record this podcast, the weather not so much warm, but it's not too crazy cold. One of the best beers to have in hot weather. Leinenkugel's Summer Shandy. But you got to have it cold.
Oh, yeah.
And it tastes amazing. Dan Davis, what are you drinking?
I am drinking, it is from Cardinal Spirits, their straight rye whiskey. Aged over 3 years, it's really very good.
Can't wait to try it.
Yes.
So I sent you guys all a photo real quick before we get to Pete and Artie what you're drinking. But, in the last handful of weeks here in Indy, they finally released Jack and Coke in the cans.
Oh, I saw that, yeah.
And it's apparently taken off like crazy. So there was at one time a Jack Daniels with a cola, but it was just a generic cola, and they said it tasted horrible. So when they finally got to partner with Coca-Cola, they were like, cha-ching.
Yeah.
So that was a pretty big, because I know Dan has a whiskey bottle on his nightstand, so he's pretty much a whiskey guy.
Which is, see, I pick good whiskeys, therefore I don't have to mix it with Coca-Cola.
Right.
I understand.
There you go.
Yeah, but Jack and Coke's a classic.
No, it's awful.
It really is.
Yeah,
It really is awful.
Really.
Yeah, that's why they're canning it, and it's selling like crazy.
Yeah. Well,
do you like
to
it,
me,
Pete?
To me. So.
I don't know. It's too sweet. I don't like sweet things, so Jack and Coke is not going to be my thing.
Well, then you'll be ready for that. Coming up soon, they're going to have Coke Zero instead of regular Coke mixed
yes.
with
Well,
Jack.
I'm not a whiskey guy.
It's important to have those low-calorie whiskey cocktails.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
absolutely.
think is what so
Absolutely.
many
Pete, what are you drinking? What do you got?
Well, since today's kind of gloomy and overcast, it seemed like a Johnny Walker Red Scotch day. So that's what I'm drinking here. A little
That seems to be more of a festive, fun beverage than a gloomy beverage. No?
not for me.
Oh.
Because I feel I'm not really gloomy today, but it's gloomy. And
You
this
have
is
one of those days?
This
Yes.
is one of those things that you just sort of sip on while you sit in your chair
There you
or
go.
do a podcast and just sort of relax.
You still haven't
Yeah.
heard back from Chris Everett yet, have you? I know you sent that letter years ago, and she still hasn't responded to get
Oh,
a
yeah, she
photo.
did.
Did she, finally?
Told me to blow
She said,
off.
leave me alone.
Yeah.
Yes,
Who are
exactly.
you? I've had letters from you for 25 years. Leave me. Would she be the one you'd write? Because Pete's a tennis fanatic. Would she be the one you'd want to get an autograph of as far as famous tennis players? Or who would
No, I would. My two top would be Steffi Graf or Monica Seles. Mm-hmm. Those two.
That would be really cool.
Yep.
Yeah, for sure. Artie, what are you drinking?
I'm drinking something that comes from Hard Truth, a distillery down in Nashville, Tennessee, Indiana. Sorry, Nashville, Indiana. It's called Henry A. Sipes Straight Bourbon Whiskey Double Oaked. It's their double oaked smoked barrel, and I'm telling you, it's heavy on the whiskey side and kind of lighter on the bourbon.
Yeah.
But the oak barrel, it's pretty. It's out front. It's out front. I just wish it had more of a bourbon flavor than just the hard whiskey flavor.
Is this usually what you're putting back when you're watching your Brazzers stuff?
No, I'm usually drinking water. I need to stay hydrated. Yeah, stay hydrated if I'm watching.
That's a lot of activity watching those browsers.
We're gonna step away from that just for a second, but we're
I
gonna get
would.
to Pete's guest here in just a couple minutes. But we got to see what's top of mind. I'll go ahead and get us started on this particular edition. Without a doubt, putting pineapple on pizza is absolute pizza perfection. I'm tired of these people say, "Ew, pineapple on pizza." Yeah, you naysayers need to move on.
I need to announce I am leaving the podcast, so you guys are no longer welcome in my home.
We don't
It just,
comment on top of mind, but that's okay.
I was forced.
Okay.
You're the one that pulled the pineapple
Yeah,
thing.
well, the pineapple is awesome. And then next week, I'm bringing a pineapple pizza. I'm going to eat it right in front of you. So,
Well, make sure there's ham on it.
yeah. Oh, you have to have ham.
Oh, exactly. Yeah,
Well, Hawaiian.
if you're gonna do the pineapple, you
Got it.
have
gotta have the ham.
It's got to be Hawaiian for sure.
and wash it back with some tequila.
All right, Dan Davis.
Shuffle your iTunes. I know I did it. I did the other day. I plugged in my phone and the music came up and just all these songs I forgot I had. And it was really a lot of fun. There's a lot of songs that I forgot all about. I love that song. You should listen to that all the time. And others, why on earth is that in my library? So it's an adventure while you drive.
I got the same problem.
Yeah.
Pete Molina.
Just quick update on what's going on in the United States. Now, 41 states have legalized marijuana in some form or fashion. 23 states have totally decriminalized it. So, time to break out the extra bongs for me.
Yeah. I'll just leave that.
Bongs
Artie,
across America.
What you got?
All right, today I don't know if you knew this or not, but today is Oxymoron Day, and I'm going to give you a list of my favorites. Now I'm going to go through this very quickly, and no comment, please. Here are my favorites: oxymorons, only choice, civil war, definite possibility. That's a really good one.
That is a good one.
Grow smaller, random order, old news, true fiction, virtual reality, working vacation, exact estimate. That one kills me.
That is a good one.
The last three: original copies, pretty ugly, fully empty. There you go. My favorite
Those are
oxymoron.
really good.
Thank you.
Those are pretty common.
I worked hard
too.
on that.
And overused.
All I had to do was print it.
I have
There you go.
a good buddy, a good friend of mine is the morning host in Dallas, number 1 AM guy, Dave Williams, and he and I work together in Sacramento at KPK. And I wouldn't say he's a grammar police guy, but he's pretty close. But he would be the first to point out how those are just so overused. And people,
yeah.
and people are just lazy in the way they write and the way they talk nowadays. But you know what? Just to get people to say simple words is accomplishment nowadays.
Like important.
Yeah.
Important.
Yeah.
I hate that.
Or not say, you know what I mean? Like watch athletes when they get interviewed. You can tell Either it's nerves, or I'm not sure what it is, or maybe it's just the way. Again, going back to what I said, high schools every year you should have speech class, so you learn how to talk. It's not that difficult.
Yeah, so watching some of these people do interviews, and unfortunately, a lot of them are athletes, and it's painful because they can barely string enough words together for a coherent sentence.
Yeah.
Well, I forget who it was. It was a female comedian. She said, consonants are your friend. Take them with you when you make a word.
Was that Lonnie Frazier?
No, I don't.
Do you remember Lonnie?
Remember the part where I said I don't remember who it was?
I'm thinking it was Lonnie Frazier. It sounds like something she would say. All right.
That short-term memory thing's a real pain in the ass.
It really is.
It really is. You know where you are, right? This is the podcast. Are you good with that?
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Just
Thank
checking.
you. Thank you for asking.
Just checking, because half that bottle's empty. So
I have to go poop. So excuse me for a minute.
That's beautiful. Brett, you can leave. I know.
Yes, Brett's so glad he's here with
Pete's
us
brought an
today.
amazing guest today, and Brett's going,
And
I don't think I've ever done a podcast with a 65-year-old man who has to
Whatever
go.
did I do to Pete to deserve this?
Could someone please stop Brett from leaving? He's
Yeah. No,
Lock
we're
the
gonna,
door.
We're gonna keep that from happening now, because Pete, I want you to go ahead and introduce our guest. Before we do, though, don't forget boomerswithbeverages.com is our website. Also, the YouTube is BWB TV, and I know typically when I go on, I usually will see the videos right away. But just in case, if you want to go right to it, I know we have
It's
a
at
number.
BWB, at BWBTV 645.
And lots of new videos on there, from what I hear.
Oh, I got a new one coming up. I'll do it this weekend, and it'll be fun. You'll love it.
It has nothing to do with Brazzers. We'll be happy campers.
It has nothing to do with anything.
You the man, Artie. You the man. Pete Molina,
Yes.
appreciate you bringing along a guest today, and we are excited to jump into this conversation. So have at it, and let's get started.
All right, our guest today is Brett Glaze. Say hi to the audience, Brett.
Good afternoon.
Good to have you here. So a little bit about Brett, and I'm looking through his bio. Brett's been in the adult beverage business for 30 years. Is that anything like the adult entertainment business, or?
There are similarities.
Okay. Well, and the reason I ask is because as part of your bio, you said at one time you were at the Playboy Mansion.
Yeah. And
So we want to hear a little bit more about that, because I got a feeling there's a little bit of a backstory there. So Brett has worked with some famous international brands such as Heineken, and he is currently working with what I'll label sort of a boutique tequila distillery called Hiatus. And I'll be real honest with you. I like to think I'm somewhat of a sophisticated purveyor of the spirits, but tequila is one spirit that I don't know much about. Perhaps the only thing I know about is a couple of really bad hangovers when I was in college. But it seems like recently it's sort of been upgraded and really become more sophisticated. I see entire sections of bars, certain bars with tequila. I feel like it's just a little misunderstood. So why don't we use that as a jumping off point and, just tell us some things that we may not know about tequila.
well, first of all, thank you for having me. I greatly appreciate it. After hearing the introduction here, as far as you guys just talking, I don't know how I'm going to top anything that I bring up.
Well, please don't try. It's okay. It's all right.
But I'll do my best.
As long as you know who the stars are. Okay.
Yeah, well, I can see. But thanks for having me. And, the thing about tequila is it does have a bad reputation, unfortunately. I'm 53 years old. Most people my age and a little bit older, their first experience with tequila was college or spring break. And unfortunately, those were bad experiences. But once you get to know the spirit and what it stands for and the background and the history, it will shed some new light. Interesting fact about tequila: just this year, the beginning of 2023, tequila became the second largest spirit in the U.S. in regards to dollar sales. It surpassed bourbon and whiskey.
Oh, my.
Brown goods. So the number one selling spirit in the U.S. by dollar sales and volume is vodka. And then number two in regards to units sold, so cases, would be bourbon and whiskey, but in regards to dollar sales, tequila has surpassed it. So it's certainly having a resurgence. So
Interesting.
Yeah, it is, and also it is the fastest growing spirit as far as trends. So and especially premium tequila, which is what Hiatus stands for.
What do
So,
you attribute that to? The growth?
Yeah, I think people are just more educated.
Yeah,
taking the time. Some people say a lot of people are drinking less, but they're drinking better. And a lot of that probably came out of COVID. They're like, okay, if I'm going to be stuck at home for 6 months and I'm going to
drink the good stuff.
I'm going to drink the good stuff.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So it's called another term that we use in the industry is affordable luxury. So not to give a plug to anybody, but Starbucks is an affordable luxury. I mean, you can get a nice coffee drink. I know Starbucks isn't for everybody, but you're driving down the street, you want to treat yourself to something nice. You're like, okay, I'll get an $8 cup of coffee.
I prefer a necklace.
Necklace. So
That is interesting that the tequila, the popularity of it, but in general, the pandemic, because of the fact that that's the last thing you would think of as we're entering into a quarantine, that people are going to go, to me, I would think it's ramen, mac and cheese. I'm thinking you're hoarding pantry stuff, but I've talked to a bunch of vendors when I've gone out to buy, some beers, or when my wife was drinking wine. She doesn't drink it like she used to. And they would tell me they just were blown away at this. I mean, and it's kind of leveled off a little bit.
It has.
But it's still strong. And would you guys have expected that? Were you surprised, Brett?
The whole industry was surprised. I mean,
it's incredible.
We couldn't get product to the shelf fast enough.
Wow.
Not just us, but any premium spirit, whether it be a vodka, a bourbon, a whiskey, a scotch, the higher end wines, whatever the case may be. So,
am I incorrect when my memory's finding something back here that there was a shortage of tequila for a while? Or it wasn't readily available. This was a couple of years ago, maybe 2 or 3, maybe 4 years ago.
Yeah. Yes. It wasn't necessarily tequila. There was a shortage of blue agave.
Oh, okay.
So because there was a run on tequila, which when I say blue agave, it's kind of one in the same, because you can only make tequila from blue agave.
Yeah.
From the Jalisco region in Mexico, which we'll touch upon that, I'm sure, here in a
and that's
few minutes.
the cornerstone of tequila, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't make it without it.
Correct.
Yeah.
I mean,
somebody's probably tried, and it's like,
yeah.
Well, let's get into it now.
Yeah.
You brought it up.
Yeah.
So tequila is the most regulated spirit in the world. It's governed or monitored, or however you want to say it, by something called the CRT. And those are just initials for the Tequila Regulatory Commission, which is the Mexican government. And they have offices all over the world. They have an office in... Yeah, I'm not making this up.
No, it's just funny that they regulate tequila, but they let half their population come to America. It's like
They don't regulate the drug trade. It's like the cartels.
that's what I'm amazed you. It was the government, not the cartel, that's controlling it.
Oh yeah, and the cartel leaves. We get this question. I get this question all the time. Anybody that's in the tequila business and does business in Mexico, do you have to deal with the cartel down there? And actually, from what I've experienced and the people I've talked to, cartel they leave the agave producers alone, the distilleries. They're not holding them hostage for lack of a better term for payment on the side or anything like that. So
when you go down there, do you wear a disguise, or what do you wear?
I dress up as a 53-year-old overweight, middle-aged white man from Fishers.
Man, you've
Indiana.
really pulled that off well today.
Don't want to be obvious, Yankee.
But going back to the CRT, they have offices all over the world. They have an office in Washington, D.C. They have offices in Europe. They have one in... I think it's down in Australia / New Zealand, Southeast Asia. I don't know all the exact locations, but they're that serious that, they know where the cases are going. They know where they're being sold. They regulate it heavily. They protect it because it's a lifeline for them as far as revenue for the Mexican government, the Mexican economy.
Yeah.
So,
It's become very popular. How did hiatus get into this? So obviously the big distilleries are into it because it's profitable. So how was it to enter a market as a relatively small player?
Yeah. So, and you brought it up well in the beginning, Pete. We are a boutique brand. tequila. So we're premium. And when I say premium, we think we have obviously a bit biased, a superior product to our competition, but you can call yourself premium if you're $50 and above. So that's why, and then you have the ultra premium, which would be $100 and above. And there's a lot of players in that category. But anyway, how did Hiatus came about? It's a great story. It was started by a gentleman by the name of Christopher DeSoto, who was raised in Mexico, went to high school, went to college down there. His family had friends across the border there in Mexico, and so they'd go back and forth on a regular basis. And so Chris grew up around the Mexican culture and tequila from an early age. Once he graduated from college, he went to work for Bell Helicopters because that's located in the town where he went to school. So he graduated from school, went and knocked on their door and said, "Do you have any positions available?" And sure enough, he got a job. So Chris spent 25 years in the helicopter business, traveling the world. He's lived in 8 different countries. He's visited 50 different countries, done a lot in his day and age. In his time on Earth, Chris is, I think, 46, 47 years old. But anyway, his last stint abroad selling helicopters, his territory was Central and South America. And he could live anywhere he wanted. Well, he chose to live in Guadalajara, which is just north. It's in the Jalisco region, but north of the agave fields there in Jalisco being a state. So on the weekends, he would go down to the town of Tequila, and that's where the name comes from. There is a town actually called Tequila, very quaint. It's a farming town. He'd go there and walk the agave fields and talk to the distillery masters and the farmers and everything else. And he gained a true passion for real, as cliche as it sounds, authentic Mexican tequila. And then about 2015, give or take, he moved back to the U.S. to continue selling helicopters. And at that time, he moved to New York, and he was in the East Village there. He'd go into the different bars and said, "Hey, I haven't lived in the States for 8 years. What are the latest drinking trends? What's hot? What are people drinking?" And all the bartenders, and really you can't call them bartenders in New York. They're called mixologists because they wear a vest and they have handlebar mustaches, right?
Even the women.
Yeah. So they start pouring him a mezcal, which is a sister spirit to tequila. And it was god awful in his humble opinion. It was syrupy. It was
That's my opinion too, by the
sugary,
way.
and everything else. Because a lot of tequila is made for the American palate, and the American palate is sweet. We were talking about Jack and Coke earlier. Jack and Coke, Mountain Dew, vanilla lattes. I mean, we talk dry in the U.S., but we drink sweet, and so that most of the tequila coming to the U.S. was. Made for the American palate, which that's fine. That works for some people. But Chris said, "No, I want to do something authentic." So he finally quit his job in helicopter sales and took a couple years off. Did some research and development. He'd fly back and forth between here and Mexico. He'd bring back samples in water bottles. He'd literally have to sneak them into the U.S. He'd do focus groups, and he said, I'm gonna go for this. So I think it was about 2018 is when he incorporated and founded a distillery. So we've got a distillery partner called La Confradia. So interesting fact about tequila, there are over 1,700 different tequilas available in Jalisco. So 1,700 different brands, but only about 300 or 400 of those come to the U.S. So there's still like 12, 13, whatever the math is, down in Mexico that will never cross the border. They're local brands, just like your local brewery or local winery or whatever the case may be. But that being said, there are only just under 200 distilleries. So 200 distilleries are making 1,700 different brands. So you've got to find a distillery partner. 90%, 95% of the tequila is not. Those distilleries are not owned by one individual. They're owned by families most of the time. And our distillery is called La Confradia, means brotherhood, and it's a 4th-generation family. And they said they could do what we wanted in regards to a taste profile and bringing authentic Mexican tequila to the U.S. So here we are. 5 years later. So
how old is tequila? Like, what's the earliest history records tequila? Because I'm wondering about the famous song Tequila. came out in 1958, and I would imagine the majority of the U.S. had no idea what tequila was in 1958,
Correct.
unless you lived in the southern parts of California, Texas, Arizona.
Hundreds of years old.
Yeah.
It was. History says the Aztecs created it, but there's
Wow, that's pretty old.
Yeah, I don't. I'm not a history major by any means. But
Well, they also bowled with heads, so I can see where
There could be a connection there.
maybe a little too much tequila. I don't know, because I kind of look at tequila like maybe there was a point that it was kind of like in the backwoods of Kentucky with all the stills set up.
Yep.
That was kind of how tequila was for a long time.
yeah, it's definitely ingrained into their culture and their history down there. I
Wow.
mean, it's very much part of the history of Mexico and the country, and they take it very serious down there. And we've Americanized it. Unfortunately, once again, people think the only way you can drink tequila, referencing spring breaks in college, or a shot or a margarita. The margarita is the number one cocktail in the U.S.
Really?
Yeah. So.
See, I'm pushing for pina colada. I love pina colada.
So, but you go to Mexico and you order a margarita and a restaurant, they're going to pour you some tequila, and they're going to dump maybe a splash of soda water on top of it, and squeeze a lime in it, and they're going to hand that to you, and they say, "There's your margarita." Whereas here, they're very fancy. I always have to bring this up. Another reason why people get tequila gets a bad rep. You go to your average Americanized Mexican restaurant, if that's such a thing. Your local El Rodeo or La Hacienda or whatever.
That doesn't even count as a Mexican restaurant.
Yeah, that's like saying Fazoli's is Italian.
Exactly.
isn't it?
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Blasphemous.
I know. Or Olive Garden, for that matter.
You go in there on a Tuesday and you see on the marquee, 24-ounce margaritas for $4.99. You're like, oh, that sounds pretty good.
We don't really care what it's made with.
Well, they don't, right? Because they probably have never had the real McCoy.
Well, they drink it. They drink it, he or she, and then their meal comes, so they order another one, and they've had two, and then they go home. They go to bed the next day. They wake up and they're hungover, and they your first thing is say, "Oh, too much tequila." Well, really, no. You had 2 ounces of tequila.
Yeah.
And there's a reason why they're selling it for $4.99 is because it's cheap tequila. The other 46 ounces are sugar water,
Right.
sweet and sour.
That'll
mix.
do it.
And that's where the hangover comes from. So
I'm interested in the three that you brought with you, but especially this one because I'm a bourbon drinker.
Yeah.
You've got this. How's it pronounced?
Añejo.
Añejo.
Yeah.
This añejo looks pretty good. I don't think I've had anything like it, but you age it in what you call ex-American whiskey barrels. In other words, people that used to be Americans have barrels. Or in other words,
They've been deported.
These are previously used aging barrels.
So you're drinking the Hard Truth.
Yes.
We've got some
Rye
over there from Cardinal Spears out of Bloomington.
and Scotch over here.
Yeah, but those barrels, in order to be called a bourbon, I always like to, maybe you know this, maybe not, don't know this. I always reference something called ABC. It's got to be American made, not from Kentucky. People think you can only get bourbon out of Kentucky.
That was an old fallacy.
Yeah,
Yes.
old fallacy. So it's got to be American made. It's got to be a new oak barrel. So there's what the B stands for, and it's got to be 51% corn. Once they're done with those barrels, they're not by law. They can't reuse them. So us tequila producers and distilleries, we buy them all up and ship them down to Mexico, and that's how we age both the Repo and the Añejo. And there is such a thing called an extra Añejo. So Blanco, not aged. Repo, aged. Once again, this is controlled by the CRT, the Mexican government.
Right.
Aged 2 months to a year. And then the Añejo, aged a year to 3 years. Extra Añejo, aged anywhere from 3 years to 5 years.
Extra añejo?
Extra Añejo, which we don't have. But if you're going to have an extra Añejo, that's been aged in a used American whiskey bourbon barrel for somewhere between 3 and 5 years. Now, they don't mandate that they are the whiskey barrels. Actually, some people use wine barrels. Some people use port barrels. Some people use rum barrels. But I would say don't quote me on this, 95% of barrels are used. The used American oak barrels is what they use. So that's the majority of the barrels that they use.
And even if you rechar them,
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just
Yeah.
rechar them. You still can't use them. Or the distiller that charred them can't use them again.
The
bourbon.
The bourbon. No.
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 Yeah.
No.
Only
They have to be sent. They have to be go. They have to go away.
Yeah. Go
Right.
away.
I do want to say, perhaps people listening can hear this. I know I can. That is my dog Tigger howling in the background.
He wants
is unhappy.
bourbon. He wants some bourbon or some
I think
tequila.
it's tequila that he's hankering for. Yes,
So
'cause
where-
he is.
I thought it's Pete's stomach.
Yeah.
Where would we go locally to have a sip of some hiatus tequila?
I love the name, by the way.
Yeah.
If you're going to come up with, that's a cool name for a adult beverage.
There really is a story behind it. So Chris had everything done. He had the liquid, he had the bottles. We had a few investors on board because nobody in the company, none of us come from money. It's not like we sold an internet company and decided, hey, let's take the extra
And
80
play
million
with our money.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
right.
start a
Yeah.
distillery. So we had to find some investors. So everything was done except for the name. And Chris was at his desk one day, and a buddy called that he hadn't talked to in 6 months. And he says, "Hey, man," he goes, "what's going on?" He goes, "Well, kind of be honest, I kind of been on a hiatus." And he collect.
Nice.
And he literally hung up on his
Right.
buddy.
I love it,
Ding,
though.
ding, 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 ding.
Yeah, and he went to the trade, went to the internet and went to the trademark office / patent copyright, and hiatus was not trademarked or copyrighted, and so
cool.
we have it trademarked now. So
And I know Pete wanted to know where are you now in terms of
Yeah.
places?
If I wanted to go on a personal hiatus,
personal hiatus
where
here.
would I go?
Here in Central Indiana, we have some great partners: 21st Amendment, Big Red, Payless, Crown, a few select Myers, a few select Kroger's, Total Wine, and more. And if you're in a bar or restaurant, some other great partners: the Ale Emporium, get your world famous wings and pizza, and the Hughes Culinary Properties, which is the 1933s. St. Omos. St. Omos is.
I'm never leaving.
I'm probably our best.
We live there.
best
We love
account.
those are the best restaurants in Indy. All those restaurants.
Yeah, and when you think of a steak, you think of red wine or a nice cocktail or whatever, but they sell a lot of they're great partners. They sell a lot of our tequila, and that's saying something considering they're a steakhouse, and tequila isn't what they're known for.
So do you have to go in to a restaurant or a bar and spend some time educating the bar staff about tequila in general and or yours, or do they tend to be pretty knowledgeable?
Nope, that's a big part of my job, staff trainings. So, yeah. So, and doing stuff like this, and having conversations with the bartenders, the managers, the patrons at the bar. I didn't gain 60 pounds in the past year by going through McDonald's drive-through.
60?
60.
60?
Yeah.
No,
No.
He's
you're
committed.
Too small.
he's committed to his.
I don't
to his-
see it,
I
man.
committed to my craft.
So are you sold outside the state of Indiana anywhere?
Yeah, actually, thank you for all the plugs. These are softballs coming my way. We're available in 8 markets: New York, Florida, California. But for those out there in podcast land, if you are truly interested and you don't live in Indiana, do people know that's where we're coming from?
Yeah.
Podcast
yeah.
land.
Yeah.
Podcast land.
Absolutely.
Is that such a thing? You can just
Might as well be since everyone has one. So.
you can just go to shophiatustequila.com. So we do have an we do have an online store. So you can go to our website or just shophiatustequila.com and our website's pretty robust and you can order direct and we'll ship to the majority of the states.
When you're doing your training, how often does your Playboy Mansion experience come up?
You had to get that in there, didn't
I
you?
did have to get. I want to know how often do
We
we get
all
to
wanna
talk
know.
to somebody that's been there?
Yeah. Well, just for the record, though, I do have to. I've been in the booze business for 30 years, and I didn't coin this phrase, but the one thing I do like to say about being in the adult beverage business, kind of like being in the adult entertainment business. Is that how you refer
I wouldn't
to
know.
He just watches. He's never been.
You never get rich, but you live like a king. So several years ago, when I was working for a beer distributor, I won an incentive put on by Rolling Rock. Does anybody know what city Rolling Rock's from?
Latrobe, Pennsylvania.
yeah.
Well, who's the most favorite resident?
Oh, Arnold Palmer. Hello.
There we go. Wow, geniuses here talking to.
We have Google.
Well, we're boomers.
Boomers.
We know
are the
everything.
we are the best generation.
So
We're like Liam Neeson as boomers. We know things.
I won an incentive called Rock the Mansion, along with like 200 other beer reps across the U.S.
Rocked the mansion.
Rocked-
And did you know what the mansion was at that point?
Oh,
You did?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Sure they
That's
would not
why he
keep that
worked so hard to
secret.
win
Yeah.
that contest.
Well, it could be like the Vanderbilts or some, I don't know, crazy thing, that he finds out it's the
You
Playboy
get to go to the
mansion.
Biltmore. Yes.
You get to go to visit the Howells.
So flew out to L.A. for the weekend,
Wow.
and we did a wide variety, a lot of sightseeing, and going to bars and seeing a couple of live bands and everything. But the main attraction was on that Saturday. We were out there from like noon to 5. They had a pool party. We actually didn't go. They wouldn't allow us inside the actual mansion. We were on the grounds of the mansion.
Were your pajamas pretty cool that you wore? Or what?
Speedos.
Were they Speedos?
Yeah, I'm 60 pounds lighter. I
There
could
you
get
go.
away-
Absolutely, you could.
get away with it.
With a big Rolling Rock label on them.
Yeah.
Rolling Rocks. Excuse me.
Hugh Hefner wasn't there, but he could have been had they paid. At the time, just like anything, it's a business.
No way. You had to pay for him to be there?
10,000 at the time for him to make an appearance. It was
At his own house?
At his own house, 10,000 for him to mingle.
I need that gig.
We're
Bingo.
doing this. We're going to do this.
So
Yeah,
the
that's
other funny part
amazing.
about that story was they did have, I think, 2, maybe 3 playmates that were mingling with the winners, which is a bunch of beer guys. We're a bunch of knuckleheads running around thinking we're cool.
Oh, and they're enjoying it, I'm sure.
But they weren't the monthly ones. They were like Miss Thursday, August 2nd. They weren't the whole month. They were like the lesser playmates.
Miss Muncie.
Miss
One pieces.
Lord, Miss Muncie.
Miss Muncie.
But it still was a cool experience.
Yeah.
And the real playmates, the funny thing is the real playmates, everybody had to have wristbands on, said you were authorized to be there, but the real playmates didn't have wristbands on, but they had gone down to one of the local adult gentlemen, one of the adult show clubs, gentlemen's clubs, and brought in some extra talent to mingle.
Talent.
And they had wristbands on just like us. And
So what year was this that you went to the mansion?
That's would have been probably like 2002, 2003.
Oh, okay. So still,
Before our children were
it wasn't
born.
like in the heyday,
No.
when you used to go there and Hervé Villachez and Ricardo Montalban would be swimming in the pool or something.
So how big? I mean, I know you didn't get to go inside, but best guesstimation, how big was it square foot wise?
The house?
Yeah.
I'd say probably 9,000 square feet. And it's right across the street from the UCLA campus.
Yeah.
It's in the heart of L.A. And lots of animals. It's like a zoo. Oh,
Yeah.
But zebras walking around, peacocks, a lot of animals. It's very unique. And then there was a house next door which he built for his
Mother.
ex-wife.
Oh, okay,
Who
sorry.
he had children with, so the children can walk back and forth.
Instead of saying Norman, Hugh.
So I wonder if the UCLA athletics department uses that as a recruiting tool.
They just might.
I don't even know if it's still up though, because if there's a show on Bravo, $1 Million Listing Los Angeles, and one of the real estate agents sold the house adjacent to it.
Yep.
And the people that were buying that house, I honestly had a chance to bid on the property, and they were talking about just tearing it, just getting the land, because right now that's the big thing in LA is getting the land and getting rid of these old houses, because it is an old house.
Yeah.
It very much old. It needed some.
Oh,
repair.
yeah.
Even back then.
Yeah.
It needed some repairs.
And it's probably somebody to take a petri dish to the pool just to see what's going
I
on.
spent the whole afternoon in that pool.
Did you?
I did. And
You're here. You live to tell about
I
it.
got to.
I know why you stayed in the pool. We all know why.
Well, what's the big? What's the grotto?
Yeah.
Did you go in the grotto?
100%. Went in Rome. Yeah.
Can we get back to tequila now?
Yes.
I have a very important question.
I know, but I've never met a guy that
Don't
go to the
spend.
mansion.
We don't want to spend our time
I've
talking
met
about
three
Playboy Playmates.
I've met 3 people that have gone there. This is all. His story is no different than anybody else's I've ever talked to.
Oh, and they all met Miss Muncie. No,
No, they met Miss Trafalgar,
nice,
Mr. Trafalgar, and
even better.
Mr. Mason, Indiana. Okay, look, I want to try this, but here's the thing. I gotta preface this. I don't like tequila, and I was killed. Tequila killed
Wow.
me.
But
Tequila
thanks for
killed-
being here.
Hold on.
Can you
Tequila
feel the
killed me.
love, Brett?
Because
Can
I
you
had
just
some of
feel
that
it?
I had some of that mezcal.
Yep.
And it was awful. And I did not know that the white tequila and the dark tequila were different, tasted different. And I was stunned. And I go, this is really awful. I'll just drink, the regular, clear,
Yep.
white
Blanco.
tequila.
Yep.
And once I tasted it by itself without being mixed, it was okay. The clear, the white.
I'm amazed.
But
I've even done tequila,
The
and
dark
you're such a snob
just,
about it.
just really hurt me. And so I want to like it because my wife can't drink
What do you mean it hurt you? What did
It hurt me. It hurt me. It hurt my throat.
Oh.
It hurt my stomach. It hurt my head. It
Thought
hurt
maybe
everything. All I did was
mentally.
take one sip, and it was
And this was
just
the-
awful.
the
Mezcal.
dark or the clear?
This was the dark.
The dark.
I'd never had dark before.
Was it cheap? I mean, was it expensive?
It was free. I just took it from my daddy's bar, and I just drank
All right,
it.
well,
and it
Artie,
was awful.
take a sip of this and give
try
us your
this
opinion.
And,
So this is
and,
the
and then
idea.
apologize to him.
This is-
It smells
the
like it
the
smells like
entire
it needs a
future of the
lemon.
company depends on whether you like this or not.
Really? The whole future of the company?
No.
I don't think
We're-
so.
we're just trying
Here
to
we
lift
go.
I can
out.
always edit it out.
Yeah.
So that's our añejo. It's been aged for a year. And
Oh, that is so much better than mezcal.
well, mezcal is not tequila. It's a sister spirit.
Well,
And- and-
it sold itself as tequila.
yeah, very smoky.
This is
I make cold fashions with this. Absolutely love.
Ooh.
this is not bad at all.
Anytime,
sounds
anytime.
This
very
is delicious. That's all you're going to give me is a swallow.
And here's the whole.
Oh, man.
I get some straws.
Yeah. You want a sippy cup?
Damn.
Is that
What
good?
is the proof on this, by the way?
80 proof.
Just 80.
Yeah.
No, it's not.
Wow.
Yeah.
Stay stronger than that.
So here's
That's
another,
delicious.
Here's another interesting fact about tequila. Here's me giving a plug, but this is more education about the brand, and the more you know, the more you like.
Yeah.
So tequila is the healthiest spirit you can drink. Think about it.
Really?
It's made from a plant, the blue agave, which is a succulent, which is more closely related. Everybody thinks it's like a cactus, but it's more closely related to
Hens and chickens.
agave. Asparagus and lilies.
Wow.
So
Got it.
Interesting.
Well, that's
Yeah,
really
okay.
good for Pete because Pete, essentially, you could be considered a vegan because it's a plant-based tequila. You could drink that, and your bong stuff is plant-based.
Exactly. And, so you
he's
drink
good.
tequila. I'm still in training, right?
You're
There
a
you
vegan.
go.
You are
Exactly.
you are a vegan. You had no idea. That's amazing.
half the calories
So-
of vodka.
Tell us what's next. Where are you guys? Where are you guys looking ahead? What's coming up? with
Yeah,
this?
so the biggest thing for us, two things. We're going to expand into new markets. We're looking at Tennessee, looking at Colorado, some states like that, and raising some more funds. Like I said, we're a startup, and we're looking for some partners that want to grow this thing with us. So, we're probably never going to pull off what Don Julio and Patron pulled off. Do you know those stories? So Don Julio sold, Casamigos. Casamigos was started by George Clooney and Randy Gerber, and they sold it to the largest spirits company in the world called Diageo, and they got $1.5 billion for it.
Well, there you go.
So why does Clooney still waste? Why does he still make movies?
Yeah,
I don't get it. Leave us alone. We don't quit
if you're
inflicting that on us.
When you're an actor, you love acting. You just
I
love
didn't
it.
Well, who was
realize
it?
he was an
Sammy
actor.
Hagar, Cabo Wabo.
Cabo Wabo. Now
Yeah.
he sold
Yeah.
that, and so now that's owned by a private equity firm or another spirit company, and he's got
Cabo
some
Wabo and Cabo, that bar is just off the charts.
crazy. And now he's got tequila, not to plug them, but called Santo.
Oh,
and
wow.
that's he's partnered up with Guy Fieri of the Cooking
Oh, yeah.
channel.
Is that kind of the big thing now? Because my wife's uncle owns a vineyard in Tuscany, and they do wine. But he was thinking about getting into boutique vodka, like Dan Aykroyd had
Yeah.
the Skull vodka
Yeah.
for a long time.
Crystal Head.
So is it kind of like that? Has it become more so with tequila now?
Yes, very, very much so. Yes, very much so.
So that's good for tequila fans because
yeah.
you've
Yeah.
got some amazing variety out there.
Yeah. No.
Oh, this is delicious. I'm really pleasantly pleased. This
Yeah.
is great.
Yeah.
This is awesome.
So now go out and buy a couple of bottles, Artie.
Yeah, no joke.
Support our host.
I love the whoever came up with the marketing. The bottles are really cool looking. I love the way the labeling's done because it's simple.
Well, it's supposed to mean this is if you switch them around here.
So they're at different levels.
better
of
fit.
the-
Sunset,
yeah.
afternoon, evening.
Very
Well,
cool.
there you go.
That's
you drink
great.
this in the morning, drink this afternoon.
Okay, it goes well with coffee and donuts.
100%.
Pop Tarts, tequila
What
and
doesn't?
Pop Tarts.
Yeah.
Pop tarts. That's it.
All right, I have a question for you. You gave us these wonderful little pamphlets that have recipes, and for the añejo, it says 3/4 ounce Earl Grey
Great
tea
tea.
infused Carpano Antica.
Sounds specialized.
Qu'est-ce que c'est?
Keep in mind, my marketing team is
Or would that be Kies?
in New York. I've had this discussion. I'm like, you not to pick on the Indiana folks because I'm an Indiana boy, but you got to dumb it down for us.
Yes, please.
So yeah, so
I know. I learned Earl Grey from Jean-Luc Picard of
Yeah.
Star Trek: The Next Generation, but yeah, Carpano is that? So that's a spirit, some kind like a Pernod or
I'm guessing. I don't know.
Oh, you don't know?
I
Okay,
don't know.
all right.
Like I said, there's just some of these recipes are
Okay.
off the chart. But I do want to go back to the health benefits. So it's everything. Drink everything responsibly. But once again, tequila, very healthy drink if drank in moderation, and then you don't mix it with sugar water or sweet and sour mix, whatever. But low in calories, low in carbs, half the calories of vodka, low in sugar, gluten free, and if you drink tequila clean, you drink a additive, preservative-free tequila, which ours is, you don't mix it with a bunch of garbage, the next day, 9 times out of 10, you are not going to be hungover. Here's the reason why. A lot of alcohols have sugars in them, okay?
Well, like
and,
this.
And your body spends all night trying to break those down. because
Exactly.
They know what sugars they are. The sugars in tequila are called agavins, and your body doesn't know how to break them down. So they just pass
Oh, tricky tequila.
Yeah,
I like it
passes
though.
through. And
So that's smart. You should mark. Why don't you, your first commercial is going to be about that.
agave.
smart tequila.
Guy just putting a bottle down, wakes up the next day, and he's at the stock exchange making money.
So what's
No hangover. That'd be
So
cool.
I know you have the shading of the vodka or the tequilas to represent morning, noon, and night. Are those the best ones to drink those times a day?
I just say you start before noon. That way you can drink all day.
Okay.
It doesn't
There you
matter
go.
which one you start with. As long as you start before noon, you can drink all day.
I would recommend if you're going to do that, stay at home.
Pete's wanting you to name one for his nap time. So if you could do that, morning, noon, night, Pete's nap time. That'd be a good one.
Reposado.
There you go. Nice. Very cool.
Wait a minute. There's more than just these 3 that you brought?
Well, in regards to
hiatus, no, this is it.
These are the only.
That's it.
These are their
the
big 3.
The big 3. But like I said, there is something called an extra añejo. It's been just been aged.
Right.
There's something called a cristalino, which is a very unique thing because they basically take a añejo and they filter it like, I don't know, I'm going to make this up, 20, 100 times, and they take all the darkness out of it. So it drinks like an añejo, but it looks like a blanco. So it's white. So
All right.
Well, that's obviously for mixing reasons. No?
I don't know.
You don't know why?
I don't,
Why
it's,
would
it's relatively
weird.
new. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's called, but there's, like I said, we have these 3 expressions, Blanco, Repo, Añejo. There's an extra Añejo. There's Cristalino. And then there's some other offshoots. There's something called Joven, Joven, which is a spirit derived from blue agave.
So remind us the
fascinating.
website again for
www.hiatustequila.com. It gives you all kinds of information about us, recipes. You can buy merch on there. You can see our story or read our story, and then you can also shop online from there.
Cool.
Well, I'm going to definitely throw up some stuff on our social media. I took some pictures while you were doing your thing. So, Pete, nice call. I mean, we always love meeting with Pete's friends. We did a show at the State Fair, met one of Pete's ex-girlfriends
That's right.
when he was just in nursery school, I think, back in the 50s. It was a long
It was like
time.
3rd grade.
Was it third grade?
grade or something?
Yeah.
First grade.
First grade.
There you go.
You're asking him to
You
remember.
promiscuous little
See,
shit.
Artie likes to dig deep.
Yes, he
okay,
does.
I'm a
because
dig
we have these brochures that have 3 different recipes for 3 different bottles of tequila. There's a picture of 3 bottles of tequila.
Yep.
You brought 3 bottles of tequila, and what does Artie ask? Are there other varieties available?
that's-
because he digs deep. He wants to know. He
watches-
thinks surely
So
you're
would it be-
hiding 2 or 3 types of tequila.
Brett, would it be appropriate if one of my friends or many of my friends go to a bar that does not have hiatus tequila to just start hounding them to carry it based on what we've talked about?
To the point where they get kicked out.
Okay.
Yeah, because
All right.
you're
I want to
free-
be a part of that.
You're
That's
free
easy.
and clear to get in anywhere, right?
Oh,
Have
yeah,
your- okay.
yeah.
Because I know, like, with my Karen's uncle, the wine is a whole different world. like
Yeah.
licensing wise and getting into places. And it's interesting state to state because some states are easier
crossing
than
state
others.
lines can be complicated. I know because there's distilleries and breweries in Michigan. Some of them are available in Indiana. Some of them are not. It just depends on so many things.
Go to your local bar, harass them,
Yeah.
and
There you
go
go.
Point of Norman,
Exactly.
and then
Well, just check it out right away. Make sure, look at the menu, look at the beverages, and if you don't see hiatus on there, at least you know for local folks, if you go to the
any of the Hughes restaurants.
restaurants, like 1933, HC Tavern, St. Elmo's, Harry and Izzy's, that pretty much is a pretty good choice of food right there.
There we go.
You'll have the bases covered. So,
Tuesday night at the Ale Emporium Steak Night.
yeah, we got an ale I can walk to from my house.
Was it
Good stuff.
$6?
$6.95.
Wow.
The Castleton location.
Yeah,
only.
right.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
It's still worth going though.
You get a 6-ounce bacon wrap fillet, baked potatoes, salad, and soup.
Holy
$6.95. Yeah.
All right.
But drinks are $41.
Yes.
That's how they
awesome.
get you.
Brett
It's been
Glaze,
delicious. This has been delicious.
Seriously, man, thank you for carving
you.
out some time. And
Indeed.
Pete, appreciate you
Thank
bringing
you.
your buddy along, and we'll follow your journey and keep up. Give us the updates. Let us know how things are going out there, and we'll do our part with what we can promote on our social media and everything like that.
Here's my honest commitment. I know I just met you guys. I've known Pete for a little while, but we make it big. There's going to be some sponsorship dollars coming your way.
Oh,
we
like that.
We might be doing the show from an agave field in Jalisco.
Oh, heck yes.
I'm in.
Let's do it.
I got we are
Private
portable.
jet with
That's right.
Playmate bunnies on the jet while we
Miss
get down
Muncie.
I
there.
don't think they're still around.
But only the ones with no wristbands, because no wristband means they're authentic.
They'll have
I
to-
paid attention to that part.
Well, aren't all our wives ex-Playboy bunnies, so we can go that route, right?
No Playboy. They'll be hiatus honeys.
There we
They'll
go.
be Playboy buddies. We'll look forward to that. But Brett, thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank
really,
you.
really sincerely appreciate you coming out. And we're going to throw some of this stuff, like I said, on our Facebook and Instagram and let everybody know to, when they go out for their beverages, to check for hiatus. And you will not be sorry. So, Artie Widgery, thank you, sir. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Pete
Thank you.
Molina, you did a great job bringing a really cool
Indeed.
guest along. And thanks, man.
Yeah, it's always great to contribute to the educational portion of Boomers with Beverages.
Absolutely.
We want thoughtful drinkers out there.
For sure. Dan Davis, good to see you.
Good to be here.
And we will be catching up with you again soon. This has been Boomers with Beverages.